I look to you when the waves get higher, believing in my heart you will carry me through. You said I can walk through fire, show me what I can do. I look to you when the waves get higher.
Now I think we are recording.
We are.
Okay.
I don't know
Guys,
what the cameras are, but
We're recording.
they do have red lights.
They do. The lights are red. The lights are on.
Camera.
Our friends are all here.
Action.
And I think we're ready to get started. How did we say we were going to start?
You were gonna say hi to
You.
everybody.
I'm going to welcome everybody.
I said
Maybe
it
I'll just
was
leave
easier.
all of this in here and everyone can enjoy it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of the learning season. This season we're talking about worship. Last week it was Eddie, John, and myself, and this week we have Abby here with us, which is awesome. We're so pumped to hear from her. And also, we're talking about Living Hope today, which is an amazing song, and I'm really excited to dive into that. But before we do, Abby, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, sure. My name is Abby Cavalancia, and I have been on staff for about a year and a half now, and I am on our student team. So I work with Eddie and Bryce with our high school and middle school students, and then I'm also on our worship team. I help Joel out with some different things, some service programming stuff. So I kind of have my hand in a little bit of everything, which I really like. Keeps me busy. And worship is like one of my favorite parts of my job. It's what I was involved in before I worked here. So I am really excited to be a part of this today.
That's awesome. It's crazy that it's already been that long.
I know.
I know we always say things like that, but it's just every
Time
now and then you hear
flies
it and
when
it's
you're
just
having
jarring.
fun.
Like how
Yeah.
quickly everything is going by, our life is just whatever. Anyways, Abby, yes, having you on the team is amazing. I hope I say things like that to you a lot,
Yes.
but I hope that you believe that deep down and know how much we love you. And I'm so pumped we could hear from you today. I mean, really. John mentioned that it was a really cool opportunity to do this and actually let people in the church get a chance to kind of meet some of us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because we don't always get to share or maybe meet people as often as we would like. So this is going to be great for people to get to hear from you today. Eddie, so why don't you share with everyone, why did we pick this song? Why did we pick Living Hope?
So, Living Hope, if you guys don't know, it was written by Phil Wickham and Brian Johnson, who's a part of Bethel Church in California. And we picked this song because I think it does an incredible job of really explaining the gospel story and really the impact of what the gospel is. And I felt like from the first Sunday that we did it, it had a unique impact on our church. I felt like there was a lot of people that were connected to the story that it told. And so I think it has been one of the best songs that we've done.
Yeah. But sometimes we introduce songs and it's like, it takes a while. We don't really know if it's going to
Right.
connect with people. Living Hope was one of those rare ones. I think we did it one time. We were like,
There's something
there's
That
something
works.
special about this
Yeah.
song. It's just powerful. It's incredible. Phil and Brian, they both are incredible writers. They've written so many amazing songs. We've done quite a few songs written by both of them over the years here. But we watched some cool, I think I'd seen some already, but we watched some cool videos about them talking about the song and their whole process before we did this, just as we were trying to get prepared. And something I loved was hearing from them. The core verse that this song was built on was 1 Peter 1:3, which says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead." Such an amazing, it's like such a giant verse.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. The lyrics in the song have so many principles, so many verses that they pulled amazing lyrics from. And we definitely don't have time to talk about all of them, but we each have something that has kind of affected us personally, something that we feel is really important to worship, important to this song. And so we're going to talk about three things today. The first thing I'm going to kick it off for us is this crazy idea that gets presented in this song and presented throughout the Bible is this idea of adoption. And in the second verse of Living Hope, it says, "The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own." And that's talking about this idea in the Bible that that we become a part of the family of God. We move from just being made in God's image to being his children in his family. And this idea of adoption is actually really crazy. So I want to break this down for us. When I learned this, it blew my mind, okay? So this is an incredible quote from a girl named Ellen Maddie explaining this whole principle much better than I could articulate it. But it says, "The word adoption, during the time and context in which the Apostle Paul spoke, referred to the Roman concept of adoption. In ancient Rome, adoption had a powerful meaning. When a child was born biologically, the parents had the option of disowning the child for a variety of reasons. The relationship, therefore, was not necessarily desired by the parent nor permanent." So, in that society, if you had a child and they just didn't fit whatever, qualifications you expected, or maybe it wasn't a male to carry on your name or something, they might just kill the baby or disown the baby, which is hard to fathom. But that's the context that this is being written in, and these Bible verses. It says, "Not so, however, if a child was adopted." So in this context, in ancient Rome, adopting a child meant, one, that the child was freely chosen by the parents. They were desired by the parents. And two, that child would be a permanent part of the family. Parents couldn't disown a child they adopted. So in Rome, you could have a biological child and not want it and disown it. But if you adopted a child, you literally legally had to be the parent of that child for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So in this context, Paul is using this to describe to us, but when we become children of God, we literally can never not be children of God after that
Right.
point. Wow. We are always in that relationship of God as our Father and we are his children.
Wow.
She goes on to say, "An adopted child received a new identity. This is crazy. Any prior commitments, responsibilities, and debts were erased. New rights and responsibilities were taken on." And also in ancient Rome, the concept of inheritance was part of life, not something that began in death, which is another crazy thing that if you were adopted and you had an inheritance from your family, it wasn't something you got when they died. It was something you had access to because you were a part of their inheritance here on earth, which again is saying so many things about what we get as being children of God and what God does for us and gives to us, not just an eternal life, right? But here now while we're alive. So this crazy idea, that if you accept a relationship with Jesus Christ, you are adopted into his family, you're his child, and nothing can take that from you. Nothing at all. That's, I think especially if we grow up in the church, we hear that, but it's really hard to internalize that and believe that at your core. You're that's who I am. I am God's child, and it means these kind of weighty things. Anyways, I could go on and on and on, but that has always really shaken me up. It's always been really emotional for me, motivating to me, that desire to be loved and embraced and wanted by your parents. It's just a deeply rooted thing that I think is beautiful and kind of helps draw our hearts to God. So that's why I wanted to share that. Abby, what do you got for us? What jumps out at you for the song?
Yeah, mine is probably the most obvious, only because it's literally the title of the song. But this idea that Jesus is our living hope, and it's the first thing that pops in my head every time I have to pray about the song, every time I intro the song, that Jesus is alive. I think it's easy to forget sometimes that when Jesus died and was buried, he resurrected, he didn't die again. He's still alive. And there's something so cool and tangible about that. It's not this floaty thing that you can't grab onto, because Jesus did walk on the earth again, after he rose from the dead. And I think that that's the most powerful part of the song for me, is that something living is breathing, it's moving, it's changing. And I think that Jesus has the ability to do that and have that kind of impact on our lives because he is alive. And I have to remind myself of that all the time, that when I talk to Jesus, when I sing this song, I'm singing it to Jesus, who is living in all of us. And I just think that that's like the coolest part of the song for me.
That's
Even though
awesome.
it's maybe the easiest one to figure out.
Well, it's just, it's so
the name.
amazing, but you said it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to forget, or it's just hard to internalize.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crazy idea.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's hard to internalize what it means. Like, no, like our king, who we
Yeah.
claim to follow, like, because it's so long ago.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to forget, like, it was very real.
Yeah.
He was a very real person. He did die. He did raise to life, and he's still
alive.
And that's like why we have our faith.
Right.
Like we need to hear that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
a lot. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, that's so huge. Eddie, what you got?
So whenever I either sing or we sing this song together, the thing that I'm always like coming back to kind of is in, it's with what you're talking about. Like Jesus is alive, like he's risen, and why is that exciting to me? I always ask myself that question. Why, like Jesus being alive, why is that exciting to me? And I feel like you have to get to that third verse to truly understand what that means. So the third verse talks about a promise, right? And this is the verse that, like, we build it and it gets really exciting. Everybody gets hyped about it. It says, then came the morning that sealed the promise. And what promise are we talking about? His buried body began to breathe. He's coming alive.
Yeah.
And then the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me.
Yeah.
And that's a very poetic way to say it. Like, I think it's it's really pretty and like it's really cool, like that language. But like, how often do you like sing that line and you actually know what that is talking about? Like, you understand that line that the grave has no claim on you. And then the chorus says death has lost its grip on me, which is another beautiful image of like being freed from the chains of the grave. And I think the reason that it's so difficult to understand this is that I think this concept is the hardest concept in the Christian faith to truly internalize in your heart.
Yeah.
I think maybe you can process it like with your brain and your mind to understand, okay, I get what it's saying there, but to really internalize it in your heart, I think it's really difficult. And I think it's because the concept of faith is very, very hard. In the Bible, in Hebrews chapter 11, faith is actually defined as confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. So let me put it to you like this. If you've ever been in like counseling or therapy, the whole purpose of counseling is to help you process something that has happened to you before.
Right.
And something that you've actually experienced and gone through personally. Faith is very different. Faith is actually the opposite, because faith is processing and understanding and believing in something that hasn't happened to you yet, but you believe it will. So like the promise in the third verse, Jesus dying and raising to life is the completion or the fulfillment of the promise. And so, we get to the point where, do you believe that fulfillment of the promise allows us to have that freedom from death? Do you actually believe that? And that's really, really hard as a Christian, I think, to actually internalize in your heart, because you haven't died yet.
Right.
You haven't died. You haven't gone through that process. You don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah.
We only have what the Bible tells us, or what God has shown us through the story of Jesus. And
That's amazing.
it's beautiful.
It's
It's
amazing.
really, really beautiful.
That's cool.
And that's the biggest challenge, I think, in trying to follow
I agree.
Jesus.
I agree. What's crazy is that like the implications are so much larger than like the subject at face value. It's about like you're talking about dying, death, but like what you choose to believe about that affects how you live.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Like, if we actually believe everything that the gospel that we believe in, what it claims, like how radical that would change every day and how
the reason that
live.
it does change people is because when you actually believe it and you understand what it means for you, you want it for other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
That's why you change the way that you
Yeah.
live.
You can't not share that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good. I feel like we've hardly been talking at all, but like
I know.
we have to kind of try and wrap it up now. But I was just thinking, listening to you guys talk, to just like remind everyone, like the reason why we're doing this is to just help us start to think about worship songs a little differently. It's so easy to just sing them, even to just be like, even if they make us feel good or we're excited to sing them, like to remember that like the lyrics are on purpose and intentional and so thought out, and they mean something for us. They mean something about God. So to just encourage all of us, all of you guys watching and us here, our whole team, to always be putting ourselves in a place where we're like, what is this saying? What is this teaching me? Like, how is this connecting me to God? Like, what is going on here? Really to ask questions and to pay attention.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're really after in this learning season, talking about worship, is helping us understand like what's going on in worship music and what kind of questions we should start to ask, in hopes that it opens this door for us and we start to experience a more beautiful, thriving, interaction with our relationship with God in specifically music, worship music. Anyway, so we got to wrap it up today. But we'll be back next time you guys get together. We'll have Lori with us. We're going to talk about some of the Psalms and I think dive into Amazing Grace, which is a crazy story if you have ever been exposed to that, how that song came to be. But I'm really pumped about that. I know Lori's going to bring some wisdom. She's always ready. You guys have no idea. She's amazing. So I'm really excited about that. And then the last thing, I want to say is when COVID stuff first started, and one of the ways we tried to get creative in how we were doing ministry and still, loving people and connecting with people, especially with the student team, is we tried to film some worship videos to like engage them and help them worship in a new way, in a new situation that we were all experiencing. And so one of the ones we did, we actually recorded Living Hope with the student team and stuff. And it just was like a really cool thing that happened that came together. And just after us talking about it tonight, or today, whenever you're watching it, we thought it might be cool to just like play this at the end of this video and give everyone a moment to just kind of reflect and rest in this moment, hear these words, maybe hear them a little differently, and interact with God, engage with God in this time. Sometimes worship is being loud and singing and being excited, and sometimes it's just being engaged and being connected and processing to what's happening and what's being said, and engaging with God at a heart level. And maybe that's what you can do, watching this in your small group tonight together. 514 Church, we love you. We care about you guys. That's why we're doing this. And we hope that this sparks something new in you. And we can't wait to come back next week or 2 weeks or whatever. So, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe, and out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Then came